So today I want to talk about something that is ridiculously important, but many of us take it for granted. In case you haven't subscribed to the channel, really? What are you waiting for? Please subscribe. Hello, you are welcome. First of all, if this is the first time you are coming across any of my videos, I am happy you found this one because it's about to really benefit you. And if you have come to my page before now and you are coming again, come on, you are the real MVP and I salute you for your consistency. Thank you very much. So I'm talking about personal SWOT analysis. So maybe the reason you even clicked on this video is because you were already familiar with SWOT. You know what SWOT is. SWOT is an acronym, SWOT. We will get to it. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about personal SWOT. Because I realized that a lot of people, even those who are familiar with SWOT, only engage with SWOT when it has to do with maybe your work or a project you are working on. We usually apply SWOT to projects and programs where we apply it externally. We don't apply SWOT to our person, to our personal development, our individuality, and so on. So that's the reason I'm doing this video, because I'm also coming across a lot of people in recent times who are amazing professionals, who are brilliant executors, who, they're just amazing. But when it comes to their personal life, if only they would apply the knowledge that they have, it would make a difference. So what is a SWOT? My impression, this is my safe assumption, that you watching me right now are at least familiar with what SWOT is. But I could be wrong, which is why I won't make a general assumption. So SWOT is an acronym. SWOT. SWOT. So S stands for strength, W stands for weakness, O stands for opportunities, and T stands for threats. Now, for those of us who are very familiar with SWOT, maybe you have worked on certain projects and you had to do a SWOT analysis, or maybe even in business, you had to do a SWOT analysis of the business and things like that. But what we often do not realize is how germane and how applicable SWOT is also to our personal lives. And I will explain in simple terms. Look at your life like a project or like a business. When you are doing a SWOT analysis, you are analyzing what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, what are the opportunities, what are the threats of that project or of that business and so on. But let's bring it back home. So for personal development, personal growth, or even just human interactions, we have to constantly look at ourselves. And maybe even as I'm saying this, I will encourage you to bring out a jotter, write your name, an illustration of yourself at the center of that paper. And then you can do S at the top, which is strengths. You can do weakness at the bottom. You can do opportunities to the left, and then threats to the right. So that's your SWOT. So when you as an individual, you are looking at the SWOT of your life, when you are doing like a SWOT analysis of yourself, you are asking, when you come to S, which is strength, it is what it is, strength. What is my strength? What are my areas of strength? And your areas of strength would be what would give you leverage in life. Strength is what is so seamless for you. Something you can do with so much ease that for you is not even a problem. I remember talking to somebody saying there are certain things that if you woke me up and said, do this, like it's like programming. I just keep moving. I just do them. Like I don't even have to think. Meanwhile, for somebody else, that particular thing is a big deal. Maybe they will have to rehearse and practice and things like that. But you as an individual, you do those things so effortlessly. So what are those things that people often tell you, oh my God, you are so good at this? What are those things that people tell you, this is so nice, and they don't have to be very huge things. So strength can be even a natural gift. So let me give you an example. So some people have like maybe magnetic personalities. You are so sociable, you are so great with people that people will say, oh, you're a people person. You just do it so effortlessly. That could be that's in fact that's an automatic area of strength. You see, because not everybody has it. Some people are so withdrawn, they are so people shy, they are so people terrified that for them to be able to engage with people the way you do, they have to practice and practice. Some people will even have to stand in front of the mirror to rehearse how they will exchange pleasantry and things like that. But you take it for granted because it's an area of strength, right? Another example would be maybe something you enjoy doing. So let me give myself as an example. I realize that I'm somebody who actually very easily I arrange. I keep saying, give me a room with a pile of rubbish and I will make a palace out of it. Like I love to arrange. Like when I see a pile of mess in my head, I'm already recreating, I'm reconstructing. Like I just want to put things away. This one should be here, that one should be there. Like just arrange. The same thing I do with dirty dishes. When I tell people I have a strength for doing dishes, people they look at me like I'm weird. No, it's just very easy for me. It's just natural because this is something that terrifies some other people. That what dishes? Nah, I'd rather really do my dishes manually. Honestly, I prefer doing manual dishes to using a dishwasher. It sounds like punishment. But it's just something that comes naturally to me. But that's very, very mundane. Like that's a very basic example. So let's go back to other things. Some people, it's your gift of writing. For some of you, it's your oratory skills. Maybe you're just somebody who is able to just talk. Like you just speak. Like it's so effortless. For some people, it's the way that you are able to organize. You're such an organizer. Like you are so self-organized and you can organize to other people. So for you it could be a natural area of strength. For somebody else it could be sensitivity. You can tell when somebody is okay and when they're not okay. You're not psychoanalyzing, you're not doing too much. You just know, you feel it. It's your gifting for the area of care. So it can be anything. That's why I'm giving as many examples as possible, because strengths or areas of strength can also be very random. And there's a temptation for us to overlook our areas of strength. So that's strength. So what I will encourage you to do is, even as you listen to me right now, you can pause me, to let me zip it for a few seconds and get your jotter, write your name, write strength. You want to now list what are your areas of strength. Even from these examples I'm giving, they have given you ideas of what your strength could be. So for some of you are natural marketers, like you can market anything. For some, it's the ability to decorate. For some, it's the ability to just bring solutions. For some, they thrive in chaos. I've heard somebody before who told me that, my area of strength is when there's chaos. Like when there is chaos, I can bring sanity into chaos. Whoa, that's a huge area of strength. Not everybody has it. A lot of people see chaos and they're just messed up. They just want to run away. But for somebody, that person told me that their area of strength is in chaos. Like where there's chaos, just call me. I fix it, and so on. So it can be from anything to anything. So as I'm talking, you can think about your areas of strength and write them. So let's go to the second thing, which is W. This is what a lot of us don't like to talk about because it terrifies even the best of us. W for weakness or weaknesses. So that second column, you see, you can write weaknesses. What are the weaknesses that you have observed in yourself? This is never easy to talk about, but for some people, it is really easy. Some people tell you, oh, this is my temper. I have temper, or this is my bad mouth, or oh, I don't know how to talk. I just talk anyhow. Take it like that. Or some people will say, oh, everybody knows that I am like this, I'm like that. And they're talking about a weakness and they celebrate it as though it's something to boast about. So I think in this short video, I would also try to explain what we should do with each category. What do you do with your strength? What do you do with your weakness? What do you do with opportunities? What do you do with threats? Because we are not making a list just to make a list and say, oh, this is the SWOT of my life. No, what are you doing with that SWOT? So we'll get there. So weaknesses can also range from anything to anything. I think I've already given an example while talking about strength. So I want you to think about yours right now. What are some of your weaknesses? It could be from anything. Just think about it. Maybe I should give you an idea on how to think about your weakness. In fact, most of the time, the opposite of strength is weakness. So those things you have identified as your strength, definitely they are not your weaknesses. So think about things that you would say, oh, I don't have a strength in this area, or this thing doesn't come easily to me. So what is it that you admire in people, but you feel like, I don't have this thing? That could be a weakness. So let me give a real life example of a weakness. A weakness would be maybe timidity. Maybe you are somebody who is timid. I'm not saying introverted. You can be an introvert and not timid. Yes, I know a lot of introverts who are not timid, and that's not a weakness. And I know a lot of extroverts who are actually timid when it comes down to it. So let's get it clear. Timidity is different from an introverted nature. So I'm saying timidity, like when it is time to speak up, to say something, and you really have, it has happened to me in the past when, maybe a question is asked and I know the answer. I know it. I can say it, but I just don't say it. And they keep asking, so who knows? And I don't. And before you know it, somebody else says it, and then they celebrate the person, and they're, and inside you're like, I knew this, I just couldn't say it. So that could be a weakness. Like you can't speak when it is essential to speak. You cannot. It's almost like a cat has got your tongue, literally. That can be a huge weakness. Or you're somebody who doesn't know how to make friends. You are not friendly. You are not sociable. You don't know how to communicate. You don't know how to engage. You don't know how to relate. It can also be an area of weakness. And I'm not saying you have to be an extrovert. Being a great communicator is not about being an extrovert. There are so many extroverts who are poor communicators. So I'm saying strategic communication, things like that. So maybe you are somebody who doesn't know how to do that. Yes, that can be an area of weakness. So again, you can pause me and then make your list of weaknesses. Great. Now let's move on to opportunities. So SWO. O is for opportunities. Opportunities, just like what it sounds like, is that thing that gives you a chance or to make something happen. So it's those things that surround you, or that you have been exposed to, or that you have access to, or that you can easily get, or you can afford, that help you, that propel you towards that goal you want to achieve, or towards your life outcome, or towards even just being a better person. Because outcome can be anything. Everything we're talking about does not have to be something elaborate or something huge. It can be something even little, or something we consider very basic. But I think quickly I need to make a point. Strengths and weaknesses are internal, while opportunities and threats are external. You might want to hear that again. Strengths and weaknesses are usually internal, while opportunities and threats are usually external. So what that means is that if you notice the way I'm talking about strength, oh, you can do this, or something you are able to do, or you have natural ability, you have natural talent, you have this and that. It's what you have. It's about you. It's internal. It's what you have. It's what you can do. It's what you're able to. It's who you are, and things like that. Weakness, like strength, is also what you cannot do, what you don't have the natural ability for, who you are not. It's still you. While opportunities and threats are external, that means it's not about something you are, or what you are not, or something you can do or cannot do. It's usually an external factor. So for instance, your environment can be an opportunity. Maybe you are somebody who is interested in a particular kind of thing, and then somehow life just does it that you have been deposited within a space where there are people who can nurture that thing you can do. That is a great opportunity. The family you are born into can also be an opportunity. Your educational background can be an opportunity. The networks that you have been exposed to, people you have met, people you have access to, and so on can be opportunities. Anything can be an opportunity. In fact, let's bring it back home. Sometimes events and happenings can be opportunities. Or maybe you just opened a shop and then suddenly there's something happening close by that has drawn people in who now have a need for what to provide or what to sell or the service you render. You see, so opportunity has come to meet you. And sometimes there are opportunities that are not necessarily surrounding you, but you look out for them so that you can leverage, right? And sometimes your strength can help you to access your opportunities. Because I don't want this video to be too long, I'll think about doing a part 2 that'll be very practical, where I will bring materials and resources to explain better these things that we are deconstructing as a concept, right? Maybe that will be great. So that's for opportunities. Now let's come to threats. Like opportunities, threats are also external. And threats, you can see them as the direct opposite of opportunities sometimes. So a threat is something just like it sounds. Threats. What is threatening your life? What is threatening your existence? What is threatening your success? What is threatening you as a human being, And so what is threatening your business? What is threatening that thing you want to achieve? So threat is exactly what it sounds like. So threats would be things that can militate against your set goals, against your well-being, against your life. So that would be a threat. So threat also can be an environment, it could be an activity, it could be people. It could be people who are filled with unhealthy behavioral patterns or people who are toxic. It can be anything. So, in fact, something happened to me recently that threatened my well-being, my existence. There was this person who came like a friend at some point, and they threw chaos into my life in a way that, people who can make meaningless things look like big deals, and then everybody is thrown into commotion. That happened to me at this stage of life. Gosh, and I think these things sometimes also happen as reality checks for us, because sometimes we feel like, oh, we have seen a lot, we have seen enough to be able to react in certain type of ways to certain things, until life brings certain people or certain situations your way and you're like, whoa, nah. This person came initially like a friend, and anyone who knows me knows that I trust very easily. Like, I make friends very easily. It's so easy for me. Keeping friends is another story, but making friends, it's very easy for me. So, it was very easy for me to make friends with this person and so on. And suddenly this person threw up an accusation from what I can only consider the pit of hell. And I was thrown off balance. I didn't know how to deal with it, because whatever accusation they were throwing stood against everything I stand for. Like, it was, to be honest, it was very traumatic. Maybe this person was also coming with a baggage of trauma from wherever they were coming from, but it really affected me. It really did. So how would you deal with such? What I usually advise myself, so by extension, it could be me advising you as well, that for certain kinds of threats, we run.
Why are you running?
You just flee. So this is where it is good to also deconstruct. Know your kind of threat. What is it threatening? If it is the kind of threat that you have to confront and challenge using external tools, so maybe using fortification, you need to do that. But if it's the kind of threat that you need to flee from, so for instance, that very basic example that I gave was something I could flee from. Like, I didn't have to fortify to do anything. There was no point to prove. So all I could do was just run for my sanity and for the avoidance of such repeating itself, because there was no point. But there are situations where that threat, you have to deal with it. Otherwise, it will shortchange you from achieving the overall goal. There are some threats that come through people because those people are very ignorant. They don't mean any harm, but they don't know better. So if it's something that you can rectify, that you can program, or that you can repair, fine. So a random example of a threat I can think of would be, so let me give an example. Something happened in 2015. It was an election year in Nigeria. The election date had been fixed. It was in February. I believe February 25 was supposed to be the election date. And because it had been announced, nobody fixed any event for the election day, which was February 25. It was presidential election. So you know that that is not the date you want to get married. That is not the date you want to celebrate something, no, because there would be no movement. So there was no event fixed for the 25th of February. Guess what happened? Just, I believe, 2 weeks to the elections, the date was changed and the election was moved to March 11, I believe, a day in March. And the new date happened to be a date that people had fixed for their events, their wedding, their everything. So you can imagine, you already have your plan in front of you. It's not your fault. Now there's a threat of an election, maybe because there was political instability or the electoral body was not ready or something went wrong, or there was intelligence that elections should not hold on that day and they needed to fortify and, reinforce security and things like that. So that type of threat is one that is really challenging. So you have to think on your feet. What do you want to do? First of all, that ceremony cannot hold again on that day. So are you moving it forward? Are you canceling it totally? Because usually also a lot of money must have been spent. You must have engaged the services of service providers and things like that. So, but that is just a basic example of how a threat can present itself even in everyday life. Or to live in an area that suddenly certain elements moved into the area and the area has now become unsafe, or there's this unhealthy competition that has come into your space and is now threatening the health and well-being of your business or your person or your family. Things like that can be threats. And the same way that background, educational qualification, networks and things like that can be opportunities, the same way the lack of them can be threats. So imagine that you are somebody who has all of this strength and so on, but you don't have the right support system to nurture you or to guide you or to help you or to support you to do certain things. That becomes a threat to you. So that is the kind of threat you can't run away from. So the question is, how do you fix it? What do you do? How do you leverage opportunities to be able to shock those things that look like threats? Or how do you even deploy your strength to be able to cover up in the areas where threats arise? Let me give an example. The way this can play out is, remember we have talked about somebody who possibly has a personality that is amiable, that can maybe persuade or dissuade. It's a strength. Imagine that this person is in a group of friends and then there's this group of, let's say, thugs that just attack and threaten them. So the way that this person who has that strength can be an asset in that situation is to use maybe their skill, their natural ability, their strength to be able to engage and talk to the people and say, you know what, this is ABC. Have you met people like that? Have you been in situations where it looked impossible, like it looks like there was real danger, and there was somebody whose personality or maybe smile or their charming nature just brought peace and restored sanity into a situation that looked impossible. But these are just very random examples I'm giving. Definitely there are things that are deeper than this, but this is just to say that in life, it's just simple things, and we have to be conscious about SWOT in our personal lives. So you want to start working with the consciousness of, what are my areas of strength? And when you think about your areas of strength, is to be able to leverage using them for good causes, of course, and to be able to deploy them for the service of humanity, for the service of other people, for the service of yourself and your environment and so on. And when you think in terms of your weaknesses, why are you thinking about your weaknesses? You are thinking so that you can improve, so that if there are things you can do that can help minimize those weaknesses or the outcomes or the negative impacts that they can have, because things that you're also not conscious of, you might not be able to take care of them. It is when you work in the consciousness of, oh, this is my strength, so I know I can use this to the best of my ability. And then instead of dwelling on how much you don't have or how you don't have it or how it's a weakness, why don't you start to look for who can I identify that can help me plug this area of weakness, or that can help me improve, or that can cover me even. Just the same way I admonish that you use your own area of strength to cover other people's areas of weaknesses, people should also be able to count on you to say, oh, okay, you have a strength in this regard. Maybe you bring that to the team, you bring that to your family, you bring that to your circle at whatever time. The same way you can identify your areas of weaknesses, just so that other people who have strength in that area can also cover and plug in what needs to be done. Because sometimes I realize that we dissipate energy, a lot of energy, focusing on what is our weakness. Hey, this thing I can't do, so I want to do. So you dissipate energy, you drown your strength, and you wallow in an area that is not yours, essentially. Then for opportunities, you identify them and utilize them accordingly. So sometimes opportunities present themselves. Once you have identified the opportunities, it will be hard for you to waste them. So once you are aware of them, it's easier to utilize them because you are aware. The same thing for threats. Threats, you identify them so that they don't catch you unawares. Once threats come up, you identify them as what they are. They are threats. So what should I do with them? Is it a flight or fight situation? That's what you do with a threat. In fact, I think we should even step it further to say you can also identify potential threats. I read somewhere that leadership is the ability to recognize a threat before it becomes an emergency. So I think that can also be applied personally. So what are the potential threats in this space I'm in, or in this phase of life, or in whatever it is? What are the potential threats? What are the potential opportunities, so that you can prepare for when they come? It's not when opportunities come, you start scrambling, or it's not when threats come, you start scrambling. You can also identify the potential ones. You might not be able to identify everything, definitely, because you are not omniscient, so you don't know everything. But as much as humanly possible, you are able to project, to see, and be able to make plans for the possibility that they do happen. So that's what we do with a SWOT analysis. So I didn't want to overflog this because it's also supposed to be easy and simple, and it's a very basic video, simply because there are entire courses and curriculums on SWOT and so on. But sometimes these things become too grandiose, and we don't even know how regular they can be when it comes to everyday life. And that's the reason I decided to do this video, because I know it to be simple enough for somebody to see the applicability even in everyday dealings. And I hope you are that person. And I'm happy you saw this video till the end. Thank you very much. I hope you got something. So in case you learned something, or you have a thought or an opinion about this video, please feel free to share a comment in the comment section. And if you like this video, please give it a thumb up and share within your network. Let other people listen and share their thoughts. Thank you so much. Till you see me again, I remain Aderonke, your zebra woman. Keep being awesome.